Steve Foe.
Board members and Dr. Chavez, I am one of the many Deerpark parents gravely concerned about the combination of pedestrian hazards presented to students by the new walking routes to Deerpark Middle School via Anderson Mill Road. A number of people have already expressed their concerns to you, and Andy Hoover, a Deerpark parent with children unaffected by the bus route elimination, has put much effort into documenting the many pedestrian hazards along this route. You are all by now aware that our community has endured both death and serious injuries suffered by our children traversing this route to Deerpark. As Millwood and Hunters Chase residents, we are all too painfully familiar with the dangers of Anderson Mill Road, but are of course less familiar with how well children have fared the hazards that exist on other Round Rock ISD walking routes. I emailed all of you on August the 11th and asked you to help us put our situation in a more objective context by providing us with the following information. First, will you provide a list of those routes with similar hazard scores as documented by the district's hazardous route assessment protocol, along with any statistics you have compiled regarding student deaths and injuries incurred on those routes? Second, can you explain how student death and injury statistics are incorporated in your hazard assessment process? Third, when the Deerpark bus routes were eliminated, several other proposed areas were exempted by the board. One area that maintained their buses had a hazard assessment score of only 392 versus the Deerpark score of 448. I attended the public hearings and board meetings and reviewed meeting minutes and videos, and I'm still not clear on what specific basis those board decisions were made. Will you briefly explain that basis? Your response to these questions will help us to better understand your decision to routinely expose our children to a route that has caused death and serious injury to other Deerpark children. I can appreciate how difficult it must be to make decisions that so profoundly affect lives in the Round Rock ISD community. I ask that you try to appreciate the profound loss and grief that the Millwood community endures and help reassure us that the risks to our children walking along Anderson Mill Road are reasonable and consistent with those experienced by other Round Rock ISD children. Thank you.
Thank you. Ruth Ellen Gruber. Good evening. I'm Ruth Ellen Gruber, and I want to start by thanking this board for whatever actions you took. We were at Ranger Roundup at Deerpark today for our 6th graders, and the security cameras will be installed within the next week to 2, and there was an acceleration of that schedule. I know you care about the kids. I know you care about their safety. I want to thank Mr. Roberts for coming this evening. Thank you all for hearing us. I have rewritten this in our time together quite a few times, trying to figure out what I want to ask for, because I know you want something you can act on. Give us something actionable, parents. How can we address this for you? My overwhelming wish is that we had buses. I do believe that Anderson Mill is dangerous. I have grave concerns about the apartment complex, the IMT 400-plus unit. There's double driveway. You've got cars that are making right-hand turns. There's no control. And you've got cars making left-hand turns. The sidewalk stops. It tips down a little bit, so the kids are a little lower on the ground. It's outside of the school zone beginning September 1st. It will not make a difference. There'll still be cell phones. NHTSA statistics show that all of these entrances onto Anderson Mill from our neighborhood, cell phone use is very high, particularly within the first 3 to 4 minutes of leaving your residence, because it's, hey, do you want me to bring you coffee? Hi, are we still on for that meeting? What are you doing for lunch? Da-da-da. NHTSA's having a conference on it next week. It has become the number one traffic safety issue of our decade. So My first wish would be, could I have buses? If I cannot have buses, can I have crossing guards? I don't even know what to ask you for. I know that there are so many unprotected places for these kids that I want to ask your help and Mr. Roberts' help in reevaluating this path that they are taking. There are opportunities, and I'm not sure exactly what. I do know that the Tamayo is what brought me here, because when we looked to move from the other side of the neighborhood, I would not live anywhere near Tamayo because my pets would get run over. The other point is that traffic that's coming up and down there in the morning is the high school kids that have had their licenses 6 months. So it's not just the adults that might be paying attention or not. It is a perfect storm. And so please help us work with you and with you, Mr. Roberts, to get these babies to school. Thank you. Thank you. Candace Hoover.
Good evening. My name is Candace Hoover. I will have 2 students at Deerpark this year. I want to thank you, Dr. Chavez, and the members of the board for allowing me to speak tonight and for your service to our community. Tonight I'd like to speak regarding the hazard assessment process in general. Yesterday morning, each of you was provided with an analysis of the Tamayo Drive crossing hazard. To summarize, students will either need to walk well over 2 miles to cross safely, or they will need to cross 30-mile-per-hour traffic that does not stop at a rate of 1 car every 8 seconds that has driver visibility of 2.3 seconds, and they will need to perform this, sometimes crossing in the dark. We are less than 1 week from school starting. How did the district miss this hazard? Nothing has changed on Tamayo Drive since March, when this route was deemed safe by the district administration and school board. Anyone involved in making the hazard assessment could have easily looked at a map to see that Tamayo is the main artery in the neighborhood. It's not that hard to drive down Tamayo to see that there are no safe crossings anywhere near the new walking route. It's not that hard to pull county statistics or simply sit on a side street in the morning watching Tamayo to see the high traffic level. Why was this not done before declaring the route safe? And if it was done, why was the information collected not used to properly identify the hazards on this route? Why did it take the efforts of a concerned citizen to highlight this hazard? Earlier today at Deerpark Middle School, Dan Roberts stated before a large group of parents that, quote, elementary children have been crossing Tamayo for years. This fact is totally irrelevant to the concern. The Pond Springs elementary walkers Dan refers to cross at the 4-way stop at Elkhorn Mountain, which is on the way to that school. This controlled stop is not on the way to Deerpark. As clearly stated in the report, which Dan confirmed that he had read, using the same crossing that the elementary students used would extend the route beyond 2 miles. Why are irrelevant details being used to justify past decisions? Does the district even recognize this is happening? If serious consideration had been given to the Tamayo hazard, the irrelevant fact regarding the elementary school students would have never been brought up. The hazard evaluation system within RRISD is broken. What other undetected hazardous walk routes are there in the district? I urge you to perform an investigation regarding how the hazard evaluation system needs to be fixed. Please either do that or consider hiring out an independent agency to perform hazard evaluations for the district. For the safety of the district's children, the system needs to be fixed. If the system is not fixed, then please clearly warn parents that serious safety hazards may exist on walking routes and that the district takes no responsibility for deeming these routes safe. Thank you.